Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of Season Ticket Holders. I'm your host, Dane Lillingstone, and it is a very sad week for UFC fight fans after Jack Della Maddalena couldn't get the job done against Islam Makhachev. I'm just going to bring in our favorite Muay Thai champion, Tom Hayfield. Tom, I'm not going to sledge you today, mate, because it is a sad week for Aussie fight fans, isn't it? We did get to finally watch some fights together. Firstly, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me, Dane. Yes, it's a little bit somber after our boy Jack not coming away with it, but yeah, we'll obviously get into that. But thank you for having me, and it was awesome to watch the fights with you.
You know it's a sad day when I don't sledge you, mate. So that's how serious
I was expecting
it
a
is.
zinger. No zing upon entry. I'm surprised, but you know it is a little bit late at night, so maybe you'll be a bit tired or something.
A big weekend, mate. Big weekend. As you know, you did join me out there at the Sporting Globe on Sunday afternoon. Beautiful afternoon for the fights. And there was some pretty exciting finishes. We will break it all down. But unfortunately, it sort of ended with just two, well, fortunately, depending on what side you're on, with two very dominant title fights. Now, obviously, we just spoke about our boy Jack. He was always the underdog going into this. He was about a 3-1 dog. Knockout was paying, upwards of $550. Islam, obviously, the boogeyman hadn't lost since 2015. Jack hadn't lost since but that Dagestani wrestling, we all know the threat of it. We saw a very similar thing with Khamzat Chimaev in a different division not that long ago, earlier in the year. Now, the exact same thing happened to Jack. Firstly, I mean, I know that you and I are both heartbroken, but the complete dominance and the fact that Jack just had no answer for the takedown, nor could he get up, really, at any point in this fight. Were you surprised at just how dominant this was from Islam?
I was surprised. There was a big part of me that thought Jack, might have been able to pull off something special with a crazy knockout or some of those amazing boxing combos that he lands but he never really got started, and that just shows how dominant Islam Makhachev is and how good he is. And that Dagestani wrestling, I saw a stat, it was like 19 minutes of control time on the ground. Jack just looked like he didn't have an answer. The thing that really surprised me was he had Jack rattled on the feet as well. And those leg kicks looked like they really had some effect on Jack, and he never really got going. And he just, it was almost like he was scared to check those leg kicks because he was scared to get taken down, but then the leg kicks were landing and it was doing a lot of damage, and he was just kind of rattled from all angles, and it was hard to watch.
That was the shocking point, right? I mean, he had that leg, that calf kicks just carved up at one point. It looks like that really took a little bit of zing out of Jack. And the craziest thing too, not only was that 19 minutes of control time, I'm reading here the official UFC stats, credited with 4 of 4 takedowns, even though he basically got him down in every single round. I think it took him just over a minute in the first round to get it done. Jack just couldn't seem to pull that trigger as the fight wore on. And mate, when he was lining up for that 5th round, it was quite shocking, wasn't it? Because he looked defeated. I think even his coach said something like, "Get that damn sad look off your face." It was pretty crazy, and I don't know if the complete wash-up has come up yet, if he was carrying an injury, whether it was a rib or whether it was that leg that got so bad to him, but I don't think we ever really quite thought we were going to see that look in a guy like Jack Della Maddalena, who has just an absolute warrior, that Aussie spirit, in the same mold as an Alexander Volkanovski and Robert Whittaker. For him to look that way heading into the 5th, that was pretty scary, right?
It was scary, and I felt like there must have been something wrong, because in that 5th round, it looked like he was almost wincing in pain. Like, it was actually hard to watch. Like, I even said to my mate Matt, I'm like, there looks like there's something wrong. Like, he was visibly in pain, and whether it's that leg or, something else that he picked up in the fight, they haven't really come out and said just yet, but yeah, he didn't look well, and like you said, in between rounds, he was slumped on the chair. His coach Ben Vickers was into him saying, "Come on, mate!" And it was just, it was a bit tricky. It was tricky as an Aussie fan. You really felt for him.
Yeah, I think they put a statement. Vickers, like you said, his head coach, basically they had to set a statement on their Instagram, said, "I'm proud of Jack and the team. We didn't get the marbles, but dared to dream, took our shot. It hurts. It hurt like hell, but we aren't defined by this sport. It's just what we love to do." So no real mention of an injury or anything like that. But yeah, I don't think we ever expected the fight to just be completely as dominant as it was. Like you said, the most surprising thing for me about Makhachev, and he said it in the lead up, I was so surprised that he did say that he could go with him in the striking, but I think we thought that was a little bit of smoke and mirrors, a bit of mind games when Jack has just been an absolute killer on the feet. Everyone considered him a top 3, top 5 boxer in the UFC. The fact that Islam could get him with those leg kicks, mate, it was pretty scary. It did seem to take that zing away. But geez, do we have the GOAT on our hands? Or at least he's very much well pushing a case now. I think the main question coming out of this fight was, who the hell is going to stop him, mate? And I put that to you too, because who the hell? There's one name I can think of right now who I'd love to see in a super fight coming up. But right now, as far as this welterweight division, who can stop Islam Makhachev?
Isn't it wild? He stepped up to 170 and just completely dominated the champ. So it just shows how good he is. And that was, we've never seen Islam fight at that weight. And that was, you know, the little thing that we were holding on to where maybe Jack could get him because, you know, he's stepping up in weight and Jack's a good boxer. And he just came in and completely dominated. And yeah, that division is so stacked. Like, the rest of the card, which we'll talk about obviously later, there was some amazing welterweight fights on that. And he's got some pretty, there's a list there that's pretty tidy. You've got your Ian Gary, you've got Morales, you've got Prates, you've got Shavkat. They were even mentioning, you know, he could go up and verse Chimaev if he wanted to in middleweight. Or there is that super fight if he went down and versus Ilia Topuria in 155. But I don't know if he's going to do that. Is he going to now cut the weight and go back down? Does he need to? Or does he just stay at 170 and just completely dominate?
Mate, I do not think he goes down again. I think he's basically said it's my natural weight. And even in the lead up, I mean, the big talking point in the lead up to the fight, right, was that how comfortable or how his body shape did look at welterweight. Even looking at the fight, I didn't really get it until they were in the octagon out there at Madison Square Garden that Islam was up to it, right? Like he wasn't overshadowed size-wise at all. Like him and Jack, if not, he was bigger. He looked quite comfortable walking around there. And I don't think he's going to want to make the weight cut. If anything, you did touch on it, but Ilia Topuria, mate, if he goes up, I think that's the fight. And I don't know if they can do it straight away, but geez, isn't that the biggest fight you can make in the UFC right now? I mean, that's the one I want to see.
Yes.
And we obviously did see Ilia come out after that fight, basically trashing Jack on his Instagram. I will bring it up when I can, but it was just, he basically said that
Islam as well. He trusted Islam and said, you know, you're so boring.
And why not, man? Like, if he can go up, he's obviously tried to be a 3-weight division guy if Topuria can't do it. And if I think there's one man who could do it, you'd think that would be the guy right now, right? Like, basically calling it out on Twitter.
Do you reckon Dana White will let him move up for that super fight if he hasn't defended that belt yet?
Well, that's the thing, right? Like, if people keep, you know, we just saw Weili obviously do it for the women's to fight Valentina. We'll get into that too. But, you know, she had to vacate a belt. We've just shown Islam vacate a belt. You do want to see people stay in their divisions. I guess that was a different story because both of them did sort of clean up their divisions. They were quite dominant. But you don't want to have to keep champions just moving up. You'd like to see Ilia hang around and really get on top of it. Now, his tweet was, Jack needs an entire camp dedicated just to wrestling. Ouch. What a disappointment of a champion. You should go to Georgia to learn something. I mean, that's a pretty big slam. And then he saved some for Islam too and said, you need something you can't train, emotion. You're the most boring thing in the game. Every day I'm more certain I put you to sleep. So those are the big words from the two-time champion Ilia Topuria. What do you make of that, mate? I mean, as sad as it is, as sad as it is, it lights the fuse right. But with Jack, like it does sort of highlight that disappointment that he really just couldn't do anything for 5 rounds. So he does have a point there, right?
He does, and I don't know. I can't see Islam losing. That style, that pressure, that Dagestani wrestling, that pin you to the ground, the smother you, the control. I can just see him doing that to Ilia as well. If he can get him on the ground, we've never really seen Ilia on the ground. We've seen him knock people out. Yeah, I can just see Islam just doing the exact same as what he did to Jack. I can't see him losing.
And you think Ilia too in that fight, obviously going through featherweight to lightweight, you think he would be the smaller guy, right? Like he'd have to put on some size because if not, Islam is going to grab hold of you and do it. And I suppose the other interesting thing about this fight, obviously he won 50-45, dominated all 5 rounds. Jack did a good job not to get submitted. You have to give him a little bit of credit for that.
But his defense was amazing. And like there was so many opportunities there where he could have just given up and given a submission or like to get out of there, but he didn't. And that's the Aussie fighting spirit, which you have to hold on to and be super proud of him.
100%, man. I think the heart more than anything. We knew it. We'd seen what it did with Bilal. I did have a little worry heading into the fight. I think I was watching the Gilbert Burns fight in the morning of, and his wrestling was always going to be a challenge. Islam, when it gets you down and can't let you back up, and that was the thing. Jack could defend submissions all day, but he could not get back up, mate. And when you can't get up against a guy like that, we saw what Dricus and Hamzat. When you can't get up, mate, it's just going to be a long night. That's exactly what it was. Now brings us to my next point. You just mentioned Australian Aussie fighting spirit. Doesn't this just go to show, I am representing the shirt, but going back a few years ago, how big that performance from Alexander Volkanovski was in their first fight? Now we've seen what Islam Makhachev can do. How much more credit do we have to, in hindsight, go back and say, Jesus Christ, Volkanovski almost pulled it off, arguably still won 3 rounds, but almost pulled it off against the guy now. You saw what he did with Jack. How much more success did Volk have? How crazy is that? And how much more credit do we have to give that fight? Looking back now, taking away the second fight, obviously, but looking at that first fight, geez, man, Volk really is one of the GOATs, right?
100%. Yeah, I couldn't agree more, and just shows how good Volk is. And that fight was psycho, and it was in Perth, and he just rose to the occasion. And yeah, I reckon he won that fight, but a little bit biased, obviously. But yeah,
We both are, mate.
did you see Khabib and Islam chatting to Craig Jones in the octagon after the fight?
I did, but I didn't. Did we find out what was said? I did see the vision.
Yeah, I saw the vision. I'm not sure what was said, but you could imagine something along the lines of, your jiu-jitsu doesn't work against our our wrestling. So yeah, but pretty cool. And it was cool to see them hug and embrace. And gee, Jack looked gassed, man. Like, that is so tiring, having a person like that on top of you for that amount of time. And yeah, it was cool to see him hug and embrace. And you could see Jack was just humble in defeat. He knew he'd been dominated, I guess.
I think for Jack too, back to the drawing board. I don't really know what's next for him in the immediate aftermath of this, but for Islam,
I'm
I'd say
excited. He's got a few fights that I'm excited for, his next fights, like an Ian Gary or a Morales or a Prates. That is a stand-up fireworks like that. That I reckon Jack's got some really cool fights ahead of him.
no, that is a good point, mate. For me, I was just going to say on Islam, building that GOAT debate, surpassing Khabib. You think he'd probably have done that now in his record, two division champion. But even just the way he came into his own in this fight week, obviously Madison Square Garden, mammoth occasion for him, moving up to welterweight, all the question marks, Jack's 18 fight winning streak. There was so many things that could have went against him. If anything, he was just so calm in the lead up. That was the thing I was most surprised about. He was calm, he was cool, he made jokes about, Australia's going to be sad, it's going to be 3-0 after this. But the way he went about it, he was cocky, but he was confident. And I think, if anything, he must have won a lot of fans and admirers over this week in this lead up to the fight, the way he's handled the fight. Even he was mucking around with Nico Parillo in main event afterwards, giving him a hug and said, you saw you didn't think I could win. And he's sort of playing around with him after the fight. He's easygoing, and he seems to have really, came into his own personality-wise. We knew what he could do in the octagon, but right now I think he really is building a case as a GOAT, man. And I think he's on that path. If he goes it to welterweight and can sort of clean out this division or take out some of these up-and-comers, it's going to be hard not to argue right now the path that he's on. Obviously, Ilia Topuria is not too far behind if he can continue doing this. But geez, mate, I'm just super impressed with what he was able to do. And the fact that Jack just couldn't offer anything, even as an Australian, man, just got to really respect what he
Yeah,
can do, right? Like, it's a goated
definitely.
run right now.
Definitely. And you have to, like what you just said, he almost has surpassed Khabib. He's a, 2 division champion. He's kind of just clearing out his division, the next division. And obviously Khabib retired when he still had a lot more fights to go in him. But Islam's, yeah, he's on an awesome run, man. It's crazy.
Mate, just some more stats too. The total strikes for Jack, it was only 30 of 74. That was total strikes,
Wow.
29%.
5 rounds.
Islam, 140 of 188. So that just goes to show the golf, mate, even with the striking, pretty insane. But look, going to be interesting to see, because we're going to talk about some interesting welterweight fights. So I do just want to get to the co-main. Obviously, the women's flyweight super fight, number 1v2 pound for pound women's in the world. Valentina Shevchenko, the flyweight champion, arguably the GOAT, against Zhang Weili. And I liked Weili in this one. I thought she could come up. I thought she a bit more aggressive. I thought she could really match it with Valentina, but the complete opposite, mate. Valentina basically did what Islam did. She went down, she took it down from the majority. She just controlled her. She dominated her. Weili had nothing. The size difference was very obvious. I think we'd all agree with that. You could just tell Valentina was just bigger, stronger, better in just about all aspects of this fight. Did you think Weili would put up a bit more of a fight in this one?
Yeah, I had Weili to win. I was, on the bandwagon there hard, but Shevchenko just dominated and proved, how amazing she really is. And the thing I found weird with Weili was every time that they were standing, she was almost throwing combinations like with her hands and the odd kick, like from a range that was just so far away. And it was almost like she was shadow boxing or sparring or something. And it was really strange. And then Shevchenko would just land a power shot and then she'd kind of rattle her. And it was just really weird. And then she'd go back to and throwing all these combos from out of range. And it's like you're just burning energy. And it was just really quite strange. Yeah.
She was really struggling to close the distance. You could see
Yes.
like she just didn't have an answer. I don't know if that was to do with her fight camp or whatever strategy they had going, but she just couldn't close the distance, right? And then she was getting taken down and had no answers for that.
And on
Um,
the ground, you could see that Shevchenko was a lot bigger and stronger and was just kind of, doing whatever she wanted, really.
Just dominant, mate. As far as
Yeah.
a goated run for her now, is I'll take away that surprising loss to Alexa Grasso, which she did later avenge. She just owns two losses to Amanda Nunes, and they're back in 2017 and 2016, and then a very early loss in her career against Liz Carmouche. So now she got a record of 26-4-1, leans out her flyweight division. Absolute stud of a champion, even though he hasn't been my favorite interview in the world. To argue that she's building this
You gotta
case,
get
right?
some of her Sonny's next interview with her, Dane, and a monster, sticker or a tattoo or something just so you can
Maybe that's
look
what I
the
need. Plug
part
our
with her.
sponsors a bit more. She'll give me a bit more love, maybe. Mate, where do you think that she fits in now? I would have to think that Weili might want to move back down
Mm.
after this, but for Valentina, obviously Amanda Nunes has spoken about coming back into the UFC, coming back into the fight. Where do you think this leaves Shevchenko now, mate? Because she's putting her case up there now as one of the women's goats.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm not sure. Where does she go from here? Is if Nunes comes back, then that's a fight to watch for sure. It'd be awesome to watch that. What do you reckon, Dane?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think I tried to ask her about that. Obviously, I spoke last podcast that I did get to interview her, and I did ask about that. She's very much, I can only focus on what's in front of me, but it was a decision back in 2016, and it was a split decision in 2017 in the rematch. So it was close. So I think it would be awesome for both of their careers and both their legacies if they did sort of come back, run it back one more time in this trilogy fight. Like, I think that would be amazing to watch. I mean, hopefully that's probably the most exciting thing that Valentina could do as well.
Wasn't Nunes going to come back to try and fight Kayla Harrison though, or is that still?
She is. So her plan was
Yeah.
to come back in that next weight division. I'm just thinking it
Mm.
more so Valentina potentially going up, right? Like if that does happen to Amanda Nunes, she does come back, takes on Harrison, which would obviously be that would be a pretty massive fight in its own. For her to come back and do that, that's what I'd like to see anyway, just for both their
I'd rather
legacies.
watch that than a third fight with Shevchenko.
Are you off her, mate?
No, no, I'm not off her. I just think it's a bit more flavor. It's different. Instead of the third fight with her, I'd rather watch Kayla Harrison and Nunes for sure.
No, that's fair, mate. And Harrison is an absolute killer. One thing I would say too, just on those two title fights, as a neutral, and I was there with one of my neutral mates, Steve, watching these fights. Um, Disappointing, even though it's complete dominance from both of these fighters in these title fights. It was 50 minutes of a lot of just wrestling domination. As a neutral UFC MMA fan, not the most exciting card you're ever going to see, as far as the title fights, anyway.
It was a little bit lackluster, those last two fights, but it was funny. Every other fight that wasn't for a belt was an absolute banger, and the rest of the card delivered. And it was an awesome afternoon down the pub, man. The sun was out. That place was packed. That's my new favorite place to watch the fights at. It's like $28 for a pint. It's absolutely ridiculous, but the
Fierce hours,
serenity,
mate.
the not the serenity, it was the opposite of serenity. It was heaving, and the screens everywhere, the company. I really enjoyed it, man. It was such a good afternoon.
Sporting Globe at Barangaroo, shout out. Still waiting for the sponsorship and didn't get our tots, so
No
we will have to
tot.
run it back.
I was waiting for the tots.
Wasn't hungry, mate. Um, let's get into those excitement fights, mate. So the next one was Michael Morales against Sean Brady. I know a lot of people had Sean Brady in this one, but I have a rule: never bet against an undefeated fighter. And Morales was coming in on an 18-0 run, coming off back-to-back knockouts of Gilbert Burns and Neil Magny, 2 first-round finishes. And wouldn't you know it, he added Sean Brady to the list for his third first-round finish. Dominant fashion, knocks him out, gets the job done. A performance of the night. That is now his third straight performance of the night award. And mate, he looks like a stud. Like he's just an absolute
Man,
superstar. His name is going to be right up there in contention for a future title fight. Whether he can do anything with his wrestling, that's obviously going to be a different story. But how impressed with you were you with Michael Morales?
that was massive. I feel like he's got some serious hype behind him now and well deserved. Like, I feel for Sean Brady. He was third coming into that, and he was arguably going to get a title shot next. And Morales is eighth in that top 10. And, you know, Sean kind of had everything to lose, and he did. And it was Morales is a bit of a stud, and he looked massive. He looks like a middleweight or something. He's super jacked. Yeah, that was a bit of a shock. Like the whole pub lit up when that went down, and it was he's definitely up there. Like him versus an Ian Gary or Prates would be an awesome fight, or even Jack.
Yeah, mate. Oh,
Mm.
against Jack. Call it here first, mate. That would be pretty good. Jack looking to bounce back. Morales looking to make a name for himself. I love that
Yeah.
fight. I'd be keen as to see that. Mate, Brady was coming off a submission against Leon Edwards in England and then wins against Gilbert Burns and Kelvin Gastelum before that. So, and they'd only lost to Bilal before that. So it's a pretty interesting picture that is forming now at welterweight because the fight before that, mate, another cracker, Carlos Prates defeating Leon Edwards in the second round. Another, mate, dominant knockout, even though Leon Edwards was on his back at one point. You could see Prates standing up. A bit of a meme's already floating around from that look on his face when Edwards was on his back. I called up late on the betting account. I just missed the jump on this one and put a money bet straight on Leon Edwards. Very silly of me. And I've never won a bet when I've called up on the phone. And I said that when I did it, and I still did it.
I've never done the call up. Is that, do they put you
Never
straight through, or?
Yeah, never do it, mate. It's always a
Okay.
last minute thing, and I absolutely stuffed it up. And I'm telling you, I'm probably like 0-10 now for the times that I have done it.
I
But for
take it as
Leon,
a sign just to stop.
yeah, yeah,
Don't
yeah, yeah.
call.
Careful responsibly, everyone. Leon Edwards, the former champion, now 3 losses in the row. Pretty disappointing for him, but when you look at Prates, mate, incredible run that he's on, and now he's going to be right up in that welterweight picture as well. I remember his debut was a little bit disappointing, but it was a decision loss against Ian Machado Gary back in April. Now he's backed that up with that spinning back elbow first round knockout of Jeff Neal, and now a second round knockout over Leon Edwards, the former champion. Where does this put him in the picture, mate? Because he is a very exciting one to watch.
That was just a crisp hand straight down the pipe, and it landed straight on Leon's head, and he almost went airborne before he hit the deck. And it was just another big punch as he was on the ground just to follow up, and the ref dived in, and it was yeah, it was clean, and he hits with some bad intentions, and it was interesting to see Leon try and wrestle with him. Like all week, he's, oh, I'm so excited to strike. I'm so excited to be fighting another striker. I've been fighting wrestlers, and then in that first round, we see Leon on his back trying to wrestle him, and it's like, what's going on here? And then Prates, he didn't look phased at all, and then he put an end to it in the second round there.
Mate, obviously right in the title picture now for Leon, like what does he do now? That's 3 in a
Um,
row coming off his title loss. You don't really want to have 4. I mean, obviously he's going to get a bit more credit, but it puts his career in a pretty big crossroads, right? Like I'm struggling to see, I'd love to see him bounce back, and obviously he's coming up against top level position, but it's been a pretty big fall from grace, right?
Massive fall from grace. I feel for him because I like Leon, and that little, moment with his coach screaming at him in that fourth round, like, you need to pull something out of the fire, Leon, and he goes out there and head kicks Kamaru Usman and becomes champion. Like, that's something out of a movie. Like, that is such a big moment in UFC history. And he's brought a lot of joy for fans, and I like him. I think he's a good fighter, but yeah, it's definitely a bit of a tricky sitch for him now. he needs a bounce back fight. He needs a Bo Nickel bounce back fight.
That's true, and that was quite a bounce back. But just to round out that main card, mate, it started off with an absolute cracker. Benoit Saint Denis defeating Beneil Dariush, 16 seconds, absolutely flying, stunning knockout. I didn't quite see it coming. Saint Denis is now strung together 3 finishes in a row, 2 submissions, and now this knockout. Dariush missed weight. That did also get a performance of the night. Lightweight, it was fought at catch weight. What did you make of that, mate? Because I had the knockout. I did get this one right. Blinding, but I don't think anyone expected that quick, mate.
It was so quick. What was it, 16 seconds into the fight?
16 seconds.
I shook my mate's hand who was leaving and turned around and Dariush was on the floor. So I missed it.
I
That's
hate it
how
when that
quick it
happens,
was.
mate. It's always those split-second ones, right?
But obviously saw the replay and it was wild.
We just sort of caught him, right? Like right behind that ear, like that button spot, like just on the side. And it was weird. Darius sort of comes up on his knees and goes, "What happened?" Like it just happened so quick that he wouldn't be expecting that. Like just a awesome performance, mate. And that
Those
was
special
how started
forces, hey.
to start the main card. What more do you want? And then we not forget, did we go to the prelims, the main prelim, Bo Nickel looking to bounce back. You just touched on it. One of the most beautiful, clean knockouts you're going to see all year. The head kick, Rodolfo Vieira, in the 3rd round. Bo Nickel at middleweight coming back and making a statement.
Such a statement. It was good to see. It was you could tell he was in there and had a point to prove. Like he was really firing and going for it. And then what a way to stamp it. What a way to let everyone know that, he's not going anywhere. And the fact he was like flipping off the crowd and everything afterwards, like he's obviously had a bit going on and that meant a lot and he needed to bounce back and that he did.
I think he was feeling the pressure there, mate, for sure.
Yeah.
I like Bo, but yeah, everyone thought it was a bit of a disappointing performance against Reina de Ritter back in May when he got finished in the 2nd round. He was 7-0 before that, but we know that Reina de Ritter is no pleb, mate. He beat Whitaker, so I don't think we can take too much out of that. Obviously, the wrestling background of Bo Nickel and his striking is only going to get better, but I was super impressed with this fight, man. Very happy. Rounding out the prelim card, because it was a pretty nice start to it, Gregory Rodriguez against Roman Kopylov, a decision. I had that knockout, so I didn't pick that one right, mate. No good for me, but Deej Rodriguez looks about 43, but I think he's 32. Those Brazilians, mate, they're big boys.
Full RoboCop vibes, eh? Like
the RoboCop's a good call.
Kopilov's fought like 15 times this year, eh? He might need a rest.
Yeah, no, he didn't look like he had much to offer in that one, mate, at all.
Yeah.
Aaron Blanchfield taking down our girl, Tracy Cortez. Pretty disappointing performance by Cortez. It was not the prettiest fight. I was still watching this one at home. Blanchfield just too dominant. And for all the Tracy Cortez fans out there, me included, pretty disappointing performance.
Yeah, I agree. I've got nothing.
Not much to say on that one, mate. No, it wasn't a pretty watch. We were watching it back here at home, and it wasn't a pretty fight. Let's just scrub it, mate. You're off it. And to open the prelims, and this one was pretty interesting. It was Ethan Ewing. It was a 48-hour notice to take this fight. Unfortunately, after speaking of him so highly on this podcast last week, Cody Haddon, the Perth product, who Jack Della Maddalena had called for as having some of the best boxing top 5 in the UFC, despite only having one fight, had to pull out with a foot injury and a training injury just days out against Malcolm Wellmaker, who was coming off 3 first-round knockouts to a right hook. Not the guy, like big balls by Ethan Ewing to come into this. He looked like a bit of a lumberjack, mate, coming into this fight. He was 10-0 Wellmaker, killing everyone left, right, and center. He had him rocked in that first round with that hook we just mentioned, but Ethan Ewing had that dog in him and ends up pulling out a unanimous decision win to hand in his first L as a big underdog. Do you watch much of that fight, mate? Because we were sitting back home and we're thinking, pretty disappointing because Wellmaker's striking, I'd read much about it. I can't say that I've watched a lot of his fights. He was just going out there for the knockout. He was barely defending. He was throwing these big looping shots, these big hooks. Nothing was really landing except that one. He rocked him in the first round. And then after that, Ewing just sort of grinded him out and did what he had to do to get the W.
Ewing, I was so impressed, and picking up that fight, 48 hours notice, Wellmaker had a heap of hype behind him. I thought Ewing, he looked like a fit Alan off The Hangover. That was the vibe I got.
Yeah,
But man, that was amazing. And like for his UFC debut to come in like that and get a win at Madison Square Garden, save that fight. What an entrance to the UFC. What a balls of steel. And like I think Dana White was pretty impressed with him, and he might have mentioned in the post fight press conference that he might be getting a little present in the mail. So I would like to receive one of those presents in the mail from Dana White, whatever that may be. But
but you
I'm
do.
guessing it's a decent little check to say thank you.
Mate, he deserves it. 48 hours notice. Obviously, there was a lot of hype about Wellmaker heading into this one. I'm sad now because I was calling for Haddon as a bit of an upset, and now I'm convinced that he probably would have got the job done because as all the hype that Wellmaker had, it looks like he had one move, and that was go for the knockout. I think Haddon might have been able, if his boxing was as good as Maddalena says
Boy,
it was, then he might have been able to come up there and really just touch him up on the feet, and that would have been really good to watch. But unfortunately, injuries, mate. So hopefully we will see Cody back soon because he's a great
did we
talent,
find
great
out
kid.
what happened to him?
Yeah, broken foot in the end it was. He came off with a broken foot, so I don't know what he was doing or if he tried to fight through the camp a little bit. He said it was debilitating, devastating. So yeah, he's pretty sad about that one. And I think he'd already had to pull out of a fight earlier in the year too. So pretty devastating for the Perth product. But I'm sure we'll see him back, mate. It will be good to see. But
Maybe the
all in all,
Sydney
mate,
card. Maybe the
Sydney
Sydney
card.
card. Yeah.
Bring it on, mate. Bring it on.
Mm.
You and I will have to go back to that one. Sydney deserves one soon. I did see an interview with Dana White last week as well, where basically someone said to him from Fox Sports, should Volkanovski keep February open? And Dana didn't say no. So Whitaker has ruled himself out of that card, but Dana trying to keep it tight-lipped. But it'll be good to see it back in Australia, not in Perth. And Tommy, all in all, just good to see a nice. That's the biggest card of the year to round it out, at least on paper. Two big title fights. Not what we wanted for our Aussie boy, but still good to see a big card like this back. We will have some more fights on this weekend, and we're going to have some more answers in that welterweight division, mate, because we do have Belal Muhammad.
This weekend's card's decent as well. There's two banger fights on that, and for a fight night, it's really good.
Well, it's in Qatar, so they are putting on a little bit of a show to try and pump it up over there. But yeah, like you said, Arman Saruki and Dan Hooker as the main event, the lightweight. So I think we're expecting that to be a bit of a banger. And then we will get some answers in the welterweight division. Obviously, Muhammad looking to bounce back from that loss to Maddalena against Ian Machado Gary, trying to put himself in that title picture. I've got Jack Manson on the card as well. So it looks like it's going to be a pretty good fight night. Do you have a tip for those main two fights?
Oh, I love Dan Hooker. I met him briefly over in Thailand. He's very staunch, but he's a nice fella. And yeah, I think that Australian-New Zealand connection, you've always got to back those the Anzacs. So yeah, I'm going Dan Hooker 100%. It was a shame he never fought Gagey. That would have been the most amazing fight ever. But this will definitely be a great fight. And then Muhammad and Ian Gary, I'm hoping Ian Gary just so that welterweight division gets a fresh kind of face into that contention for the title. I feel like Ian Gary is just a little bit more entertaining and better to watch fight, really.
Yeah, it'd be good to see Hooker back, mate. Hasn't fought since August on that Perth card last year, coming off a split decision, back-to-back split decisions. Only fought once in 2023, so he's only had two fights in the last sort of 3 years. This will be his
Yeah,
third
wow.
fight,
What do you
so he's
reckon,
had a bit of.
Dan?
Yeah, look, I like Hooker, mate. Faruqian is coming off. Well, he did beat Oliveira at UFC 300. It was a split decision win. Knocked out Dariush and Silva before that. But I do like Hooker, like you said, the New Zealand guys. And again, I agree with you too, mate. Ian Machado Gary, I think I'd like to see him come back. He's obviously 16-1 now, coming off that decision against Prates back in April. Hasn't been back. And like we mentioned, Bilal trying to bounce back against that loss to Maddalena. But I agree with your tips, mate. Let's win some money this week because they didn't win any on the weekend.
Yeah, all my bets
Um,
lost. It was It was an expensive day down at the pub, but good fun and good to finally hang out, Dane, and have a few beers and watch the fights, man. We do the podcast and chats, and it's always good when we actually get to do it in real life. And we got to record one of them maybe as the next podcast. Do it live.
Live watch party at Sporting Globe. You heard it here first. Free
Yeah,
tots, free beer towers. Then hook it up and
slurring.
let's go. Tommy, I know it's getting late for us, mate, and thank you very much for jumping on again. It was a pleasure. I know our boy didn't get the job done, but it was an exciting night of fights at Madison Square Garden. So we'll bring it all back again soon, mate.
Thank you, Dane. Thanks for having me, and yeah, bring on this weekend's fights.
Thanks a lot, Tommy, and thank you everyone for all your support. I'm sure we'll get some Aussies back soon. Talk to you soon. Bye.